Welcome to Resilience Brilliance podcast, where I will share resilient stories and tips to build your resilience muscle, overcome adversity, beat burnout, and reclaim your life. Today's episode is The Hidden Cost of Misalignment, How Clarity Creates Real Resilience in Business. And today's guest is Maggie Jurajda, an alignment architect, sharing her personal story of resilience. Maggie has had a long journey to get where she is today. Maggie is the founder of Holistic Business Alignment and creator of Clarity by Design, a former architect and kitchen designer turned business alignment strategist. Maggie turned her own burnout and anxiety into a mission to help others find clarity and purpose. She now guides healers and therapists to turn their gift into an aligned business rooted in human design, building success that feels safe, authentic, and sustainable. Maggie's work blends strategy with soul, teaching that resilience doesn't come from doing more, but from aligning deeper. Maggie's philosophy is simple. Alignment is freedom, and your energy is the strategy. And by doing work in human design, she creates authentic pathways that feel safe and true to who you are without burnout and overwhelm, which is so dear to me in my mission as a resilience strategist. Before we get into human design and the gene keys, which she'll mention, Maggie is going to first tell us about her resilience journey. Maggie, please share with us how you arrived at where you are today.
Thanks, Jena. Thanks for the introduction. I'm really honored to be on your podcast, so thank you very much for inviting. So my journey started about 12 years ago. In general, I'm from Poland. I left Poland when I was 19, moved to UK after a car accident. I crashed my ex-boyfriend's car and I had to pay it back for it. So I ended up in UK over 7 years through catering as a waitress. Then I moved from tiny island of Jersey into mainland in UK, in Wales, and where I studied architectural design technology. Fast forward, when I was finishing my architectural studies in 2013, the moment I graduated, I realized this is not exactly what I want to do. It's not exactly what I thought it will be. I'm a very creative person, and it was kind of putting me in a box. So I started actually my entrepreneurship journey with any sort of business startup workshops. And my first business that I joined was, as many people, I guess, did as well, network marketing. Through about 5 or 7 or 8 different companies, well, unfortunately, as much as I pushed, as much as I tried to build a team and stay consistent, as everyone was, telling me, stay consistent, you cannot quit after 6 months, I was feeling it that it was not it. So I decided to try a different business. So I actually started property services business basing on my architectural background. While I was learning about property investing, I have been basically trying to offer my services. And that's when I got my first burnout panic attack, which I didn't know that was a panic attack back then. It literally felt like my heart was racing and it was super scary. I was actually cycling and suddenly I actually called my boyfriend back then, our husband, that like something is happening to me and it was actually panic attack. I couldn't breathe. And basically after that episode, when I got myself out of the last project, I said, I need to take a break because this is not supposed to be like that. I think business needs to be fun and we need to enjoy it, what we do. It meant to be freedom in the end of the day, or it needs to lead to freedom, and that was not going the right direction. So after 2 months break, I started from scratch in 2017, literally from zero. I had to go back. I had to get another job in architecture, which I called myself like I'm psychologically unemployable because I just could not have bosses and it was quite challenging. So I started, but I still had to do it. So obviously we do what we need to do to pay the bills while we're building our empire or the legacy. And I started from scratch in affiliate marketing, starting learning about marketing and so on. I invested in a high ticket program about marketing. Well, and the company has been shut down after 6 months with my last money on the credit card. So obviously that really kicked me because like there was nothing else to invest on. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if now, because I'm obviously avoiding these kind of programs, but a lot of those coaches and gurus out there are telling you have a victim mentality. If you really want to make it, you need to make it happen. You need to be resourceful. I said, I already did for a couple of years. And I was feeling really bad about myself that I cannot find any further finance. But I still wanted to make it happen. I still knew I want to have the freedom. I wanted the laptop lifestyle. I didn't want to work for a boss. So I basically jumped between different low ticket programs. I don't know, 25 there, 50 there, 100 there. I started to accumulate the knowledge and I realized I love marketing. But in a background, having the architectural job where I was basically being fired every 3 to 6 months.
We can laugh now, but not funny then.
No, not funny, because obviously that was kicking my financial stability. There were times that I really couldn't find a job for 3 months and I really didn't have money to pay the bills. And luckily I was living with my partner, so we were already supporting each other. And luckily he was actually being very patient with me that I didn't give up and I still wanted to pursue my goal. Yes, and basically I reached the point where I couldn't get any more jobs. I think I had about 12 jobs in the period of 5-6 years, and basically I had to change career. And that's when in 2019 I changed to be a kitchen designer slash salesperson. So the further income relies on the sales. So I literally, my salary got cut in half and I never knew what the salary gonna be, and I had to make it up for all the credit cards. So I actually worked 7 days a week for 8 months. I was exhausted. Not only that, 6 months after I finished my kitchen designer training, my manager turned out to be a bully. And that was like just poking me. And I literally had such an anxiety that I could not breathe. It was really, really challenging. And it was very unethical company as well. So I said, I need to get out from there because I'm going to just destroy myself. And I changed the job to another kitchen designer job with this tiny little company, also in the same city, where I was the only employee. And yes, couple of first weeks were great. I absolutely loved it. And I loved the job itself, actually. I really enjoyed it. However, my boss never paid me on time. I never received any commission. It was
That's
starting.
Yeah, that's draining. I mean, you're enjoying it, and then you're like probably thinking of like, oh gosh, here I am in another dead end.
Yes, and I remember one time that I finished my work and I was always like opening the shop, closing the shop. He literally kept me for 2 hours after I finished my work and keep battling me literally with all the negativity, what I do wrong. And at the end, he asked, "Are you coming back to work tomorrow?" It's like, excuse me? And I was like, if you want me fired, then please give me a notice. And if I want to quit, I'll give you a notice because I'm a professional. So that's how I left. Although I was keep coming back, I prepared myself. I was preparing the plan that I'm gonna take a sick leave because I was seeing symptoms of depression actually, because nothing was making me happy. I was starting to be very teary very easily. I decided, okay, end of this month, I'm taking a sick leave. I needed to actually have the doctors because otherwise you cannot have the appointment for like 2-3 weeks. And that's when I decided. I took my sick leave. I got paid, and I basically applied for university. And that was 2019 when I reapplied for masters in digital marketing. And in the middle, pandemic happened. And yeah, well, we all know with pandemic that a lot of things were pear-shaped, especially when everything had to move online and people were not prepared. Frankly enough, and ironically, digital marketing course was not really prepared to be online.
Yeah, that's kind
So
of a ironic thing.
yes, exactly. So there was another battle for another 2 years with the university. However, that was the year in just before the pandemic when I had to find myself internship to kind of being a part of the course. So I found one just after Christmas or during Christmas, something like that. And it actually ended up with 8 months paid freelance marketing work. And I was actually using my online marketing knowledge from all the courses that I did to help this tiny IT company. And it was pretty good. And I know they've seen results. Then I got another marketing internship with a housing association where they were helping finding a social housing for people. So that was really good experience. And that's when I started to coach. Because when I was doing affiliate marketing, I realized I love helping people who are not very technical, like implement the email marketing and all the techie stuff that they didn't like, I absolutely loved. So I was like, okay, let's launch coaching business. And that's how I started, from one client to another to another. And the following year, I actually graduated December 2020. And then we went into 2021. I got my first job in, I thought I need to try myself in the corporate world again in a different career. So I got myself a marketing job in an agency. And again, I got the confirmation this is really not meant to be, because after 3 months, my probation period got extended for no reason, because was apparently I didn't met objectives that were never set out, even though I chased them myself. And I always started from the lowest salary. And I was like, no, that's it. I know my worth, and I'm not going to let anyone treat me this way anymore. So after 6 or 7 months, I actually gave a notice period. They had to rehire me as a contractor. And that was the same month my husband actually got an opportunity with a new job in Spain. And that's when we decided, okay, we're packing everything and we're moving to Spain, which was our desired goal actually when we met.
Yeah. And let's go back to that. Offline, you and I had talked about had manifested you wanted to live in Spain. So can you talk about that?
Oh, yes, that was actually the beginning of, I guess, law of attraction, which I actually didn't know it existed back then. I was 17. It was me and my mom that got our first holidays or last minute holidays to Spain when I was still living back at home. And yeah, and I was like, when I was leaving, I was like, I love this country. I love the people. I love the culture, the food. One day I want to live in Spain and have a Spanish husband, right? Well, 20 years later, we got married this year actually, and we moved to Spain 4 years ago, and we actually live. This is another funny story. In January 2019, when things were starting to go wrong, I created a vision board and I found different pictures on Google. One of them was like, where are we going to move in Spain? So I found like nice beach in Spain. Like obviously my partner has told me like, oh, look in the south of Spain because it's the nicest beaches. So I started to look like example of the house, example of the beach. And I found some pictures. That was January 2018. In August 2019, when we were walking down the beach because we visited the 3 cities where we wanted to possibly move, I was walking and I had goosebumps. I was like, I know this place. It's like, how can you know this place? We never been here. I was like, I know this place. And I pull out my phone. I was like, this is the picture. And I have actually the exact picture where it was from Google. And I was sitting on it, sitting in the same table. Everything is possible, and universe is conspiring with everything we do to get us there.
Yeah.
We moved to Spain in just past pandemic with our cat. So that was another journey, because to take the cat with the international moving post Brexit, that was another challenge that was we had to obviously overcome. But we made it happen. We packed everything, we prepared everything, and we moved to Valencia in Spain. We lived there for 2 years. It didn't quite work out as we thought it will. It's just the energy didn't really work. So we decided, okay, let's move to our final destination, hopefully. And we moved to the south of Spain where we are now. And this is our place. We feel the energy. People are super nice. We love the food. We are big foodies. So that's how we ended up in Spain. And my husband works for himself. I work at home. I can go to the beach. We literally live in front of the beach.
I love it. I love that you were manifesting and using the law of attraction subconsciously, which is how it works, before you consciously knew what it was.
And this is another funny thing, because like I thought, like I don't know how many times I watched the movie The Secret. I read the book twice. And when we think of it, what we want, yeah, we create it, but like there is one thing where they say, it's like, let it go, let it happen. Don't try to force it. And when you are relaxed and when you're starting to feel and enjoy the moment, that's when things are starting to happen.
Can't hang on to the throttle and squeeze it. You're going to choke it, right? You got to let go.
Exactly. So yeah, so that's where we are right now.
That's fantastic. I know your market is healers and therapists, but your services also apply to the public. And so earlier we talked about how it relates to resilience. Please talk about how resilience is related to energy.
Sure. So actually, just to mention in terms of healers, because of my own mental health journey, that's how I kind of choose like what helped me. It was not the public health system. It was actually meditations, hypnosis, etc. That's why I thought the people with the gift, and everyone has a gift. that's what I discovered. Like everyone has a gift, even if they didn't discover it yet. So that's why I thought like they really need to. They can help more people. They can heal the world. But in terms of when someone doesn't call themselves a healer, we actually all healers, because with our own personal journey, when we share, we give other people courage, and that brings resilience, because there is so many times that people actually got back to me when I shared my story that it was inspiring. So literally, you don't need any particular gift or service. You just need to share your story, how you overcome the challenges, because that can give other people courage to also stand up for yourself, stand up as a student, stand up for yourself as an employee, stand up for others who maybe don't have the courage. That is for me the biggest thing. It's like really, really stand up for what you think is right, because I think we are lacking that, and hopefully world is waking up and people will start doing it.
Well, and I agree. There's so much, like, so many people have lost their voice, not literally, sometimes literally, but figuratively, don't feel like they have the freedom or the capacity that their voice matters, or they've been in a relationship where it's been, beaten out of them. And I think it's really important. I'm going to take a quick commercial break to talk about resilience. Every month, I offer a free live training, and the website is in the show notes, so you don't have to like scramble or anything like that. It's an hour-long program where I go into how you can start feeling and building your resilience. I'd love to have you, and we'll get back to Maggie. So do you want to talk about human design? Tell us what that is.
Sure. Basically, before I actually started human design and with the passion for marketing and helping people be visible generally with whatever the service they offering and being able to help more people, my business was actually Digital Business Garage, and that's when I wrote a book. But going back to human design, I discovered human design a year ago in September. Human design is a synthesis of Western and Eastern astrology, Hindu chakra system, which a lot of people probably know, from Judaism, Kabbalah, the tree of life, and the quantum physics. So how it all blends together is like everyone probably knows their star sign or the zodiac sign, right? And everyone knows probably their horoscopes, or we all probably looked into kind of like the short paragraphs, short horoscopes in the magazines and so on. But obviously they were very generic. We all know how they're written and so on. But proper natal chart, and also like, so basically human design shows you a map of the sky with also like referring it to your gene keys. Gene keys are linked to the genes in our DNA, which there is 64 of them. And that links to epigenetics. So everything, basically our DNA carries certain code. Imagine your life skill or any part of life, like your skill that you experiences during different types of life. And basically when we are in the low frequency of certain gene key of that energy, it's when we feel frustrated, angry, perhaps like pessimistic or triggered and so on. By learning or studying gene keys and human design, it allows us to be more aware. It's like when you an example from law of attraction, the moment you start wanting to buy a, I don't know, red car, you're starting to seeing that red car everywhere. It's a kind of the same principle. The moment you read about something and you bring it into the conscious mind, to awareness, you're starting to realize and catch yourself in the moment, so you can actually, instead of react, you can actually respond. So it's like a slow motion, like in Matrix, that you starting to observe everything from the outside, and you can start making a better decision in the current moment. In a nutshell, so human design allows us to get a picture of ourselves, very complex, much more complex than normal traditional horoscope, and it tells us about our character, about our life purpose, our message, how are we, even who is our ideal client or who is our person that needs to hear us. So it is very, very powerful. And now connecting that with current technology, with AI, with ChatGPT, you can literally you can find yourself. I use ChatGPT and my human design to literally, I treat it as my as a hypnotherapist, literally, because you can ask questions and you can discover so many different things about yourself. And it's nothing that you don't know. This is the interesting part. When you read the report, human design report, you're starting to realize like you know all of it. It's just like you starting to realize what was other people imposed beliefs about the environment or about yourself on you rather than what you truly believe. And it's like when you're starting to read it, it's like, no, this is actually what I believe. This is who I am. And the rest is like how I normally react. It's not who I am. It's like how other people want us to react. It's like the expectations of the society, right?
The programs we've learned.
Programs. Exactly, exactly. So how it basically what it allows us to do is gain clarity, because that clarity gets us into alignment. So you stop doing things that you don't enjoy. You start actually focusing on things you do enjoy. You stop saying yes to things you don't really want to do because to please others, to overgive. You start only focusing on what is good for you, and when it's good for you, you feel better in mental and physical health. And that gives you the resistance as well, the resilience to keep going, because you're making the better choices in
And you're
work,
feeling
in
better.
life,
Yeah.
exactly, in
One little
relationships.
one little improvement spurs more, a desire to do more and to take it further, right?
Exactly. It's like a snowball effect. You discover one thing and then it's like a Pandora box. It's like, for example, I give you an example. Like I'm a generator, 6'2", so I'm a role model and a hermit. So what does that mean? That like 6'2" is being like I can show up and be the role model, but I need a time alone in order to recuperate my energy, to be on my own, to gather my thoughts, to rest, to allow myself to rest, and then I can again show up to the public. So, and generator means that there is 9 centers in a body graph of human design, and I always have energy to keep going, to do the work, to do the tasks. And for example, in many jobs, I was working in the architecture or engineering. I've been doing jobs that it didn't bring me satisfaction, so I was always exhausted. It was draining me. The moment I start choosing to work on projects and jobs that I really love, like content creation, working with people, I'm feeling like even more energized. It doesn't drain me. So that's the best example, I think,
Right.
to
It's
understand it better.
if for a lot of the listeners who are familiar with Stephen Covey, it's sharpen the saw. When you do things that jazz you, energize you, and make you feel good, you're going to have a bigger, higher capacity to withstand things that are what I say turbulence in life, right? The bumps that we hit in the road.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. So basically,
That's
everyone, once you get to know your human design type profile, and there is many different elements to it. I'm only scratching the surface here, but like the most important part is the type and is the profile, because with this you know how to show up and what is your energy. So for example, I had a client who is a hypnotherapist, and she's a projector, and projectors doesn't have their own motor center with energy, so she needs to work with other generators or manifesting generators to work on their ideas. But they see things that we don't see, so they can guide us. They are natural guides. But I can tell you, projectors can work 3-4 hours and they need to rest. And that helped me to understand to stop pushing clients, because like I think a lot in the business industry or in even in life, people are expect from us to hustle. Oh, how can you rest so much? How can you sleep so much? Well, this is the nature. And we should not, in the end of the day, we work to live, not live to work, right? So that helps us to
right.
understand like, okay, it's time to rest, it's time to rest. And that's it. That's my nature.
Yeah. And I think too, our um, our culture is that it's hustle and grind, and it's time to stop that programming, because the hustle and grind is making our world unhappy. People are sicker. There's more disease. There's more disengagement in the workforce than ever before. I know that the 2025 State of the Workplace, it has a $9 trillion loss in the United States alone, attributed to disengaged employees. So it's a really serious problem.
I'm not surprised. I'm the best example of burnout, because apart from the depression from the bullying and all the treatment, and I was going against my own nature, but I had like physical symptoms. So I had very bad skin, I had a nervous cough, I couldn't sleep, nothing was making me happy, and I had no energy for anything else. So that is serious problem. So I think it's time to change it. And a lot of people are saying, a lot of spiritual people are saying that there is a new era, and that era of hustling is finishing now. There is higher consciousness now, and I believe that people are start waking up. And the more people I speak to, they starting to be open to the woo-woo stuff, which I considered woo like 2 years ago. So, so I think it's funny because like a lot of these kind of modalities or these kind of fancy words
Yeah.
are basically just a cover to not make people understand, because obviously if we uncover it, then there will be a lot of healed people, and then a lot of industries may collapse, let's say.
Right, right. Well, the medical industry in itself, like Western medicine, I think people are getting really frustrated with it. And I think that has been a huge driver in a lot of the disease that we have today. I know that's maybe perhaps a controversial comment to some, but I do believe that the body heals itself, and there are things that we can do to reduce those diseases and the chances of diseases, and taking better care of our whole body is really key. And this is something that I can see with this human design can really play a part in better health. So how has that changed, since you've been studying this? You talked about what it felt like when you were feeling that anxiety and depression. Tell us about what it feels like now that you've gone through that period, and what does it feel like today?
Easy. Easy is the good word, because I think since I started to study, I start being more aware of what I'm saying yes and no to, because as a generator with the sacral authority, my body says yes or no automatically. I just need to listen to those tiny little nudges, and
Nudges?
I need to tune in. We all need to tune into our bodies to listen, like whether it is anything in life, obviously. So basically, it has helped me to create better programs, because prior human design, I was just trying to force traditional marketing without taking into consideration someone's energy, like the projectors, like that they cannot do 8 hours a day or 5 hours a day. No, they have less capacity. So the strategy needs to be suitable for them. They're not going to be grinding with content or with enormous amount of work every day. No, they need to have a strategy that allows them to do something easy, manageable, couple of hours a week. So that is kind of gives the clarity. And that's what helped me to start creating for myself and help my clients create better offers, create better strategies, because I didn't do it I started learning it for myself to start with, even though someone actually told me about human design 2 years prior, but it didn't click. Maybe it was not the right time. At the right time, a year ago, I went on the first workshop and I got hooked, and I started to study this for 15 hours a day. And when I realized like that helps me to get to know myself. So when my business process is like with you going with the car to the mechanic with the car that doesn't run smoothly, right? So the mechanic, what he does is that diagnostics, which analyzes what's wrong with the car, tells you recommendations what needs fixing in order to be more efficient. The same process applies to what I do, but I'm taking into consideration the driver, not only the car. So human design allows me to understand the person that I'm working with, their energy, their predispositions, who is that they need to work with, or what's their message, what's the best way of communicating. So human design is allowing them to get to know themselves, gives them the clarity, and gives me the clarity to work with them also better. And you mentioned also health. Human design also connects to health. There is a little bit less on it at the moment, so I'm researching the topic a little bit more. But like those 9 centers, for example, we have a throat center. It's from the throat chakra as well.
Yep.
So
Yep.
if something's wrong with our voice, we can actually look into what gene keys, what numbers are in that center, and look at the energies and look at the names. And there is basically we can actually discover the 3 different frequencies, and we get starting to get aware, and we can actually heal ourselves with this, just with the knowledge. Because when you bring it into the subconscious mind, There is a work of Dr. Bradley Nelson, Emotion Code, which basically, in a rough explanation, is basically bringing to awareness the emotions that were hidden when we couldn't process them in a childhood or during traumatic events. When we discover what's happening in our body, that is locked emotion, and that can be unlocked by bringing it into conscious mind. That's how I more or less can explain it, because obviously I'm still reading about it.
Well, that's very interesting. And I think, a couple of things that you've mentioned, woo woo, right? I remember when I first started to getting into energy, my true yogi journey started in 2009. And, if anybody is a yogi out here listening, you know that there's a lot of that introduction to the woo woo, right? Because you're talking about your chakras and your energy centers. And then as I got more into yoga and more into meditation, I learned much more about the energy and the vibrations that we emit and that we live on. And I really thought, now I'm going into some stuff, and everybody was like, that's a little too much woo woo, Jena, way too much woo woo. But I love that it's the woo woo is now coming up into the mainstream, and that it's not a secret anymore. And I love that.
It's funny you mentioned that it's coming to the mainstream, because I have a friend who lives in UK. She's a Reiki master. She actually finished that like a year ago, or this early this year, and now she actually finished to be a reflexologist as well. So she works with energy and she feels it, and she was showing me a couple of exercises. From the background, she works at the hospital ward with anesthesiologist, experienced a lot of different things and watched it, and she started to discover a lot of things that are kind of hidden, but basically and she's coming from a scientific background, from the medical background. She has been a nurse as well in Poland, so she has that background, and yet, and even she is questioning still even her knowledge, and every time we speak we have goosebumps, and because we really feel it, but we kind of rejecting it because it is not a common knowledge, right? That
Yeah,
we
there's
taught in the mainstream.
resistance. Yeah, there's resistance. So we're going
Resistance,
to go back to
exactly.
the word programming. There's resistance because of the programming that we're accustomed to.
This is the thing, is how we were raised, either by our caregivers or in our environments, in schools, how we were raised, what were the values that we grew up with. And that's I believe that's the programming that we grew up with. I completely changed my programming the moment I left Poland, because it was very traditional way, go to school, go to university, get married, get a mortgage, the standard
Right.
lifestyle.
Right. Yeah, the program that we all grow up with, right? Especially in America. I don't know about in Poland, but it's like, yeah, you find your spouse, get your house, you add your two kids and a dog, and there you go. You're on your way. That's
Exactly. So I think anyone who is kind of struggling, whether in a job, my number one mission is ethics, and stand up for yourself and stand up for others, and get to know yourself, realign with yourself, reprogram your mind in order to be able to actually achieve your own goals and desires. And that gives you the resistance
well,
and
and
the resilience.
yeah, because we have to dig deep, right? We have to go into ourselves, and we have to have a lot of introspection so that we can actually view ourselves away from and strip away those programs. And it's like peeling the onion. You have to peel, and you have to peel, and you have to peel, and you have, just like resilience, sometimes you have to dig really deep, like deeper than you think you can go. And it's there, it's still there. But we have to shed these programs. If we keep the programs, that resistance is there, and we can't have resilience if we are resisting those, the a new way of doing thing or a new way of thinking about something. Do you have any other thoughts on human design before we move to your book?
No, I think the human design and altogether all that knowledge can actually help you to strip those limiting beliefs. It helps you to get to know yourself, and that gives you the more freedom in life to make better decisions. And absolutely, you need to go deep. And actually, but everything is a journey, because I think myself when I started and everyone else is looking for a magic switch. There is no switch. There is a journey, and it is little by little. You cannot do all in one go. the next thing comes in when you're ready. And I think that
Right.
timing and patience is
Yeah, that's so
important.
true. And I'm thinking about some of my 7-day resilience reset and the steps that you go through. And you can only answer the questions of where you are today, not yesterday and not somewhere down the road. So we when we work on ourselves, we're working on the version that we are today. And I think that's so important because we can't get to, you know, the next step or the step after the next step without going through the next step. Like you said, we can't get there's no magic switch. But if we learn the tools and we have these things in our back pockets and we no longer resist the programs, then we can actually move forward. And I think that's really helpful.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and then I think there is no one tool that can, like, I love human design, but like I'm not only setting with one. Like I'm still open to different tools, and I think because every tool resonates with us in a different time, and I love it because that gives us the variety. So your approach, and there's also different teachers, different in a different voice. Not everyone will resonate with, for example, with what I'm doing, right? So maybe they won't be. Not everyone will be ready for human design. I started with simple affirmations and meditations and, I don't know, guided hypnosis, for example. So little by little
Baby
and
steps.
finding the right teacher. Yeah.
Yeah, baby steps. Yeah, I think it's hard maybe for somebody who's very traditional to jump right into this human design. That's like going out on a limb. That's like going directly to the edge of the cliff, you know, throwing all their pre-programs aside and jumping off the cliff. And, there in life, there are people who actually do jump off cliffs. So let's talk about your book, Connecting the Digital Dots.
Okay. So I actually wrote it prior human design. So I guess a sequel need to follow up, I suppose, maybe under even a different name. But I wrote it because of my journey and because I was like scammed so many times, because no one was explaining the big picture. They were just showing you a little bit. So to get you curious, to get you pay, and they didn't reveal everything. So it was lack for me, it was lack of transparency, lack of big picture. And I'm the big picture person. So, and I decided, like, I was so frustrated of paying money and then basically not being able to recover my investment, right? So because every course is not a waste, don't take me wrong, because I learn from each, but like it's the whole point of investing is to get your ROI. I'm only getting it now, but not from referring to that programs in affiliate marketing. So I wrote Connecting Digital Dots for anyone who is in the online space. They either looking to outsource their marketing to a freelancer or an agency, or who is not sure where to start, or everything seems confusing in terms of marketing, in terms of social media. I wrote the book in a way, so it is actually 110 pages long, and it is there are I actually I'm a very slow reader, so it was very important for me to write it in a way so it is very easy and quick to read. So it's like not very long lines, hopefully ideal size of font, basically, in a way with
Oh, and
practical,
easy. Yeah.
easy and practical steps without the marketing and business jargon, or introducing in a way to be understandable by anyone, not by a business owner with 5-10 years of experience, right? So it is for anyone. And this book was read by people who didn't like marketing at all, and they said, like, oh, I understand. So it's to give you the tools and the knowledge, so you know how long things takes, how long things cost, why they cost that much, what comes to it. Because like sometimes I came across many people who have, like, let's say $150 to outsource their marketing. I said, if you read this book, if you know that you don't have these other elements in your business, that is just like throwing money on the ads and they're not gonna do anything at all for you.
Right.
So know what you need in your business.
Yeah, that's great. And where can people buy that book?
Amazon, it is on Amazon and on Kindle all over the world. It's not
Okay.
in the public shops, but it is on Amazon, easily
Okay.
available. So
All right, and I'm going to put that link in the show notes as well. And let's talk about what you have for our listeners today.
sure. My number one thing is alignment bundle, which is actually two. I introduced another one recently, two free human design reports, which one is around lifestyle in general to get to know yourself. And the other one is short mini business report, which is actually how does it apply to business, any business. And another thing is a success guide, which basically explains how to use all those reports, how to obtain them, how to use them with free or paid ChatGPT or any other AI tools, Copilot or whatever are people using, how to use that information from those reports to get clarity around ideal client, message, even how to create offers. So it gives you a really great snapshot of it, even how to create content. Like within an hour, you can have a content for the whole month.
That's time saving. Do you have any last comments or anything that you want to mention before we wrap it up?
I forgot to mention, I'm never with any agenda. Like I love having virtual coffees. So that's my thing. Is someone call it Zofi, and I like to steal that word. It's having a Zofi virtual coffee on Zoom
I like that.
to get to know
Zombie.
to get to know each other. So to see whether we each other's cup of tea, and to get to know each other, to get to know each other's business, life, story, and that's how we basically started, right? So it's to connect, and that's what I invite anyone. If anyone fancy meeting up, I can invite for a virtual coffee.
Great. And that link will also be in the show notes. And then also, if you want to learn more about Maggie and read more about her story, there are several articles that she's featured in, and I will put those in the show notes as well. How about one last comment? What tidbit, what parting words do you have today for people who might be in the boat where you were when you were experiencing your panic and you were stuck in that difficult place?
Everything has a reason and timing. There is a reason why we go through those challenges, and we need to stay resistant and keep going in order to achieve our goal, because I believe in universe and energy. So I think there is a specific reason why we're going through that path. And it's just never ever give up. If you have a goal, the goal doesn't change, or the destination doesn't change. It's just the route that we think which we may take may change a little bit, but the destination is still the same. So keep going, stay on course, and never give up.
Never give up. That's so true. I'm just going to add to that. You just got to dig deep sometimes. Sometimes we go through some awful stuff. You don't think you have it in you to go further. And the answer is yes, you do. And we're both here to help you figure that out. So thanks for joining us today. I'm very grateful to have you on the podcast, Maggie. And everybody, please support Maggie and check out her book and her articles. Take her up on her free offer. And remember, Resilience Brilliance is a weekly show released every Tuesday. I have a free live training on resilience. Come check us out. The link is in the show notes. Thank you so very much. And everybody, have a blessed day. Ciao.
Thank you, Jena. Bye.
Bye-bye.